Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is September 20th, 2017, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, major events coming out later today, okay, with the FOMC at 8 p.m. South African time this evening. But before we get onto that, at 10:30 South African time this morning, retail sales coming out of Great Britain. That should affect the British pound as it's been trending upwards and having a little bit of a retracement yesterday. We'll see and look at that in just a moment. But then at 4:30 South African time, we have weekly crude oil inventories coming out. So that's also an important number. We'll see that. And then again at 8 p.m. South African time, FOMC interest rate decision later today. Fed Chairman Yellen will be deciding whether or not the interest rates in the United States on which banks lend their money against, right, will be going up or staying constant. Okay, this is really one of the most important numbers of the year. It comes out quarterly, and it is very, very important because it controls the money supply in the markets, right? And as such, it affects the world internationally. So let's see what's been going on in the markets. So we're going to start here with the Euro USD trading at 120-ish level, okay, flat, all right, which is really very confusing because we're in the midpoint, okay, of these two trading ranges that we've been trading between 127-ish level and 118.80, okay, which is almost 100 pip, range, and we're trading just, smack in the middle of that, okay, which is, something that is showing us that the market is not sure which way the market's going to go right now. And, if we were trading closer to my resistance line, then I would say maybe that it'd be more inclined to having some sort of a breakout. If we were trading closer to the support line, I would say maybe we're looking for some sort of reversal, to continue our trending upwards, or maybe we'll even break down. But here in the middle, it's a little bit difficult to decipher which way we're going to continue going. So, with that said, I would really recommend that everybody keep a sharp eye on this, especially today with how the market retraces, okay? But just remember your support and resistance levels, because that's really your compass in knowing how far this can go up or how far this can correct itself. So keep an eye on that later today. GBP USD, a big correction, not a big correction, a minor correction, excuse me, yesterday. From 136, we traded down to 135-ish level as this has been trending upwards. Okay, now these levels can continue going up, and I'd like to see some sort of, momentum continue on the way up. Okay, to say that this is just, people booking their profits to in the anticipation that this is going to go higher. Now, there's little to go by here. Okay, my next resistance level is 138-ish level. Okay, and my support level is 133 and a half level. Okay, so there's really no place for me to say, okay, if it retraces to this point, it's a B trade that it looks more like a buy. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So, if this does continue further up to later today, as we've seen it continue, okay, it can certainly continue back to the 140-ish level, 142-ish level. So it's really important to know your levels here to understand which way this is going. The Rand has been getting weaker versus the dollar, as it can be seen here. We're closing in on somewhat of a resistance level right here. Okay, if there was going to be somewhat of a retracement later today, this would be a good exotic pair to actually trade. So keep an eye on the ZAR later today as this unfolds. Looking at gold. Gold bouncing a little bit, about 10 points from yesterday. I'm trading as low as 1304. Now, I did call this, if you did have your shorts on and you wanted to cover your shorts, 13-ish level was a really good place to cover your shorts. Now we're actually bouncing off of this. And I mentioned yesterday that this looks like it's creating a head and shoulders. This first shoulder, the head, and then in the anticipation that it's going to go further down to 1300-ish level and then 1290, break it, and then create a second shoulder, okay? But I'd like to see that weight. Now, the Dow Jones has been very, very strong, so people are taking their money out of gold, as things have been calming down between North Korea, between the United States, between the hurricanes that we've had. So things are, settling down, so to speak, and we're just trying to find ourselves some sort of level where we can actually, bounce off of. So looking at the gold, okay, it could certainly retrace down to 1290 still. Okay, but keeping a sharp eye, especially with the numbers that are going to come out later today. Looking at oil, as we mentioned earlier today, inventories coming out this week. We have this resistance level at $50 a barrel. Okay, now we've tested it several times, and we're hugging it right here. Okay, if we don't break further down, we may bounce above it. Okay, so keep a sharp eye on that, especially as the crude inventory numbers come out later today. Looking at the Dow Jones, we're at all-time highs. Just, sitting there at all-time highs, 22,336-ish right now, and not looking like it's, having any sort of pullbacks. All right, and looking at a 4-hour chart here, we may correct ourselves later today, we may not, but keep a sharp eye on this because this is really important to see how this resolves itself. Whereas the DAX is not breaking higher, okay, we've topped out at 12,543-ish level, as you can see here. We're not breaking newer highs, so this is a little bit not worrisome, but it raises a flag, okay, for me to be aware that the DAX is usually the leading indicator and it's not living to its reputation here. Okay, and this was part of the idea that we had these hedging strategies last week in the presentations in the webinar, where we have two correlating symbols that trade together. And normally the DAX was the leading indicator. Okay, normally it took up the Dow Jones further up, and here it's not doing that, and it's actually out of steam. So I'd like to keep an eye on this later today to see if it does have any sort of real life to continue going upwards. Otherwise, I am concerned that we're going to go further down. Okay, but that's just, I'm not there yet. I don't have the confirmation, but it's just giving me that thought to actually look at it from that perspective. So big number today, again, 8 p.m. South African time. Know your support and resistance levels very well. Keep your stop loss and take profits tight. Okay, because at these news type of events, things get very volatile. So, just be prepared and protect yourself on the downside, okay, in any event, and the upside. Okay, if you hit your goal for the day, fantastic. Take your money off the table and treat your girlfriend or your wife to a nice dinner. Okay, this is Fred Razak at CM Trading. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.